food sectors. I'm happy to inform that about 650 persons, including academicians, researchers, students, public, private business, and governments from 5 countries and 9 provinces in Indonesia have already registered to join this conference. Among them, 126 scientific papers are going to disseminate during this conference. Please come and join our conference in the International Fashion Carnival in Jember, Indonesia.
The majority of Indonesian agriculture still applies conventional system. Over the time, an agricultural concept in Indonesia developed sustainable agriculture. However, it does not align to the 4.0 Industrial Revolution, making it difficult for food sovereignty. Every nation has its own strategy to cope with the industrial agriculture in 4.0 Industrial Revolution. This strategy should be based on the natural potential and the social condition of the nation. Universitas Jember is one of the higher educational institutions that has the concept in conquering the challenges of the Indonesian industrial agriculture sustainability and food sovereignty in the 4.0 Industrial Revolution.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The International Conference on Agriculture and Life Science is a joint effort of the Third International Seminar and Workshop on Plant Industry with the Second International Seminar on Food Sovereignty and Sustainable Agriculture. We are pleased to present the conference focusing on sustainability of industrial agriculture and food sovereignty in the era of Industrial Revolution 4.0. This conference is divided into 3 programs that are International Seminar, International Symposium on Biotechnology, and Workshop on Rice Development. The International Seminar presents keynote speakers from the University of Jember, the Ministry of National Development Planning, Republic of Indonesia, besides guest or invited speakers from South Korea, Malaysia, Germany, Thailand, and Indonesia, supposed to give a comprehensive talk related to approaching Industrial Revolution 4.0 era for agriculture and food sectors. I'm happy to inform that about 650 persons, including academicians, researchers, students, public, private business, and governments from 5 countries and 9 provinces in Indonesia have already registered to join this conference. Among them, 126 scientific papers are going to disseminate during this conference. Please come and join our conference in the International Fashion Carnival in Jember, Indonesia.
The majority of Indonesian agriculture still applies conventional system. Over the time, an agricultural concept in Indonesia developed sustainable agriculture. However, it does not align to the 4.0 Industrial Revolution, making it difficult for food sovereignty. Every nation has its own strategy to cope with the industrial agriculture in 4.0 Industrial Revolution. This strategy should be based on the natural potential and the social condition of the nation. Universitas Jember is one of the higher educational institutions that has the concept in conquering the challenges of the Indonesian industrial agriculture sustainability and food sovereignty in the 4.0 Industrial Revolution.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The International Conference on Agriculture and Life Science is a joint effort of the Third International Seminar and Workshop on Plant Industry with the Second International Seminar on Food Sovereignty and Sustainable Agriculture. focusing on sustainability of industrial agriculture and food sovereignty in the era of Industrial Revolution 4.0. This conference is divided into three programs that are International Seminar, International Symposium on Biotechnology, and Workshop on Rice Development. The International Seminar presents keynote speakers from the University of Jember, the Ministry of National Development Planning, Republic of Indonesia, besides guest or invited speakers from South Korea, Malaysia, Germany, Thailand, and Indonesia, supposed to give a comprehensive talk related to approaching Industrial Revolution 4.0 era for agriculture and food sectors. I'm happy to inform that about 650 persons, including academicians, researchers, students, public, private business, and governments from 5 countries and 9 provinces in Indonesia have already registered to join this conference. Among them, 126 scientific papers are going to be disseminated during this conference. Please come and join our conference in the International Fashion Capital City, Jember, Indonesia.
The majority of Indonesian agriculture still applies conventional system. Over the time, an agricultural concept in Indonesia developed sustainable agriculture. However, it does not align to the 4.0 Industrial Revolution, making it difficult for food sovereignty. Every nation has its own strategy to cope with the industrial agriculture in 4.0 Industrial Revolution. This strategy should be based on the natural potential and the social condition of the nation. Universitas Jember is one of the higher educational institutions that has the concept in confronting the challenges of the Indonesian industrial agriculture sustainability and food sovereignty in the 4.0 Industrial Revolution.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The International Conference on Agriculture and Life Science is a joint effort of the Third International Seminar and Workshop on Plant Industry and the Second International Seminar on Food Sovereignty and Sustainable Agriculture. We are pleased to present the conference focusing on sustainability of industrial agriculture and food sovereignty in the era of Industrial Revolution 4.0. This conference is divided into 3 programs that are International Seminar, International Symposium on Biotechnology, and Workshop on Rice Development. The International Seminar presents keynote speakers from the University of Jember, the Ministry of National Development Planning, Republic of Indonesia, besides guest or invited speakers from South Korea, Malaysia, Germany, Thailand, and Indonesia, supposed to give a comprehensive talk related to approaching Industrial Revolution 4.0 era for agriculture and food sectors. I'm happy to inform that about 650 persons, including academicians, researchers, students, public, private business, and governments from 5 countries and 9 provinces in Indonesia have already registered to join this conference. Among them, 126 scientific papers are going to be disseminated during this conference. Please come and join our conference in the International Fashion Capital City, Jember, Indonesia.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the seminar, and I hope that all of you enjoyed the lunch. For your information, the conference presentation files will be available in the website link on the screen. You may download presentation by the speakers. Next, we will begin the third session. For session 3, we have 3 guest speakers. The first speaker is Professor Dr. Heike Fruerwitt from Hochschule Bildbara, University of Applied Sciences, Germany. And the second speaker is Dr. Sung Kun Chong from Kyungpook National University, Republic of Korea. The third speaker is Dr. Juwaida Sharifuddin from University Putra, Malaysia. Our last session will be chaired by Dr. Muhammad Rondi as the head of Agribusiness Department. I would like to invite Dr. Muhammad Rondi to come to the stage. Time is yours.
Tes. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for all of you. You still in this room for continuing our agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, now we will have 3 presenter that all of the presenter it will be energetic and interesting presenter because the presentation it will talking about the biotechnology in the first, and the second it will talking about food technology. And then the third one, it will talking about the economics. So when we conclude this 3 presentation, it will be a nice presentation. Because this afternoon, so in the front seat is still aisle, so maybe you may come forward to fill the chair. Okay, and then for first presenter, we would like to invite Professor Heike Fruerwitt. So maybe it's difficult for Indonesian to pronounce. Professor Heike was born 48 years ago, and then now she working in University of Applied Science. So the university is Hochschule Bildbara. It's difficult for me to pronounce, but I hope it's right. And then she has a lot of experiences working at engineering about the biotechnology. She got doctoral from University of Technology Graz, Austria, and then she has a lot of experience in biotechnology, and the latest one, she be guest professor for process engineering, Faculty of Science, Ramkhameng University in Bangkok, Thailand. And then She also got some award from Australia and from Austria. It's called All Good Austrian Environmental Award. And then she also got award from Energy Globe Styria Award. She also has a lot of publication. I will not mention all of the publication now, but today she is going to talking about evolving biotechnology in the 4.0 industry era. That will talking about the biotechnology, especially from microbiology. Please come to the stage, Professor Heike Provit. Please give a big applause. You have time 30 minutes, and then we will remembering you after the time 5 minutes remain. Time is yours.
Thank you very much. Salam alaikum. I'm very sorry I don't speak Indonesian, so this presentation is going to be in English. Thank you very much to the organizers for inviting me. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here and to give my side from a process engineering point of view to the topic biotechnology and Industry 4.0. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Sounds sounds better than it is in reality. Thank you very much for this. Okay. I will have to have a look at the slides if I'm correct with what I'm doing here. And you see from the title, I'm trying to connect biotechnology and Industry 4.0 within the next 30 minutes and giving you my thoughts of it. To start with, I would like to introduce what's my research background. So I learned from my talks in the morning with you that a lot of colleagues here are related to agriculture and agricultural science. My background is a little bit different. I am a process engineer. So from industrial processes, not coming from agricultural processes, and my research topic are also a little bit different. So what I do is twofold, so to say. One vision and goal of mine is using waste streams and side streams. So this is even in Europe. We don't have those big countries. We have very small countries in Europe. We do not have the variety of plants and the option to have broad fields. So we have to really take the most out of the rural, of the agricultural land that we can. And therefore, biotechnology in Europe also means to use alternative sources, and this is waste. So in my case, I do work on upgrading of waste streams, and this upgrading is in a first approach, it's a upgrade for new materials. We do this upgrade biotechnologically, like my faculty is also a biotechnological faculty, but we do that also in chemical conversion. So in chemical conversion we do, for example, convert lignocellulosic residues like lignin, and biologically we use a lot of side streams, for example, biogas slurry, to use it as a fertilizer for our microorganisms. So I will come to my introduction to biotechnology later, and you will see there is a lot of interference with agricultural production there. And the second, the second focus, you won't allow me to use this, but my second research area is marine biotechnology, and we are doing pigments of that, and I also think we have here some interconnections by producing added value or high value ingredients for food and feed. So this comes together with agriculture then again. This is my plan for today. I would like to think together with you where is the connection between biotechnology and Industry 4.0. I'm not an economist, so for me Industry 4.0 is embedded in my engineering background, and I will talk to you later. And I'm aware that the expression Industry 4.0 is a little bit controversially discussed. I had also a discussion today in the morning already, and we had presentation also with from our colleagues from South Korea who mentioned what does it mean, what are our phases. And when looking back at industrial development, we had 3 industrial revolutions so far. So we had steam engine, we had production belt, and we had the microelectronics. And Industry 4.0 has to prove that it is really breathtaking in the future, but we will see. This is just an overview on what biotechnology can be. So you see a lot of products, a lot of sectors, and this is what biotechnology covers. In the middle, you see the core. The core of a technological process is always biology. And it can be a microorganism or even only a part of a microorganism, an enzyme, for example. So when you go for a biotechnologically process, it need not be a whole organism. It can also be biocatalysis. And when we have a look at all the branches, we have some interconnections with agriculture where we meet again. We do also have green biotechnology, also related to agriculture and forestry. And what you see on the left hand down, this is biopharmaceuticals. This is for southern Germany, where I work. In the University of Biberach, this is a region of very big pharma companies. Very big is 6,000 people at the site, and they are producing biopharmaceuticals with biotechnology. Down there, when we go up, we go to bioactive compounds and ingredients, and we will hear about that later on, I think. This is also a topic where we in Biberach work in, because we are working with pigments. We are producing phycocyanins and astaxanthins. Detergents, also a big topic, namely in Europe. Food and feed, so it comes together again with agriculture, and then more innovative branches and sectors like bioplastics or cosmetics, and there is just an empty space where we put all the other thoughts and all the other projects that may evolve in future or are in the research pipe already. Why industrial biotechnology, most of the things we saw before can also be done chemically, and the chemical process is normally a fast one. So when we compare, my favorite example is the example of lactose. Lactose, which is just a combination of two sugars that are bonded, and it's a quite predominant topic in Asia because a lot of people are not able to metabolize lactose. So what are the options? So we can go for chemistry, and we have just these two sugars, and they are connected together, and we can just break this bond. And when we do that chemically, when we have this bonding, we can do that with the acid hydrolysis. Easy. We just put acid, temperature, and then we break it up. Fast, easy, cheap. But when we are talking about natural materials like milk, every one of you would consider what happens if I put acid and temperature to milk. We would have a black liquor. Nobody would like this. That's then to say it's lactose-free, but not useful for anyone to consume it. This is the one selection. The other one is the biotechnological way, when we select an enzyme, a lipase, and this will just go to the connection and just break very selectively this connection and leave all the proteins and all the other substances in our milk alone. So this is an example for a process where biotechnology beats chemical processes. This is, at the present, quite a rare occasion, because in most cases chemistry is. Thank you so much. Thank you. Chemistry in most cases is cheaper and faster, and time is money. Production, so longer production circles mean bigger apparatus, and so in a lot of cases chemistry still wins. But we are working on biotechnology so to optimize our processes. What does that mean for our processes? Our processes, they take longer, but they are at low temperature because our enzymes wouldn't survive this 90 degrees of an acid hydrolysis. We do not need high pressures like in catalytic processes, and we do normally not have toxic substances because our enzymes wouldn't survive that either. So we have a process at low temperature, low pressure, low toxicity, and this process has then the advantage that all the operation workers do not have to work under harsh conditions, and our product is then solvent-free, for example, or free of any residues from from a chemical process, and all free of all the side products from the chemical process. One point that is not so important for you as agriculture scientists is the dependence on fossil fuels. But this is a point in bioeconomy at a general. We are highly dependent on fossil fuels, so alternative fuels with biotechnology is a topic for the future anyway. And so to say, we are working, a lot of us are working on biotechnology, but we have not finished yet. We are still on. The potential is not fully exploited yet, but let's meet in 10 years and have a look. Yeah, and what about, so now we have just collected some of our knowledge about biotechnology, and here I've summarized the principles of Industry 4.0. So Industry 4.0 is meant to be like an industrial revolution, which it has to prove in future, to be honest. And what it has 4 principles. It has the principles of network. so that machinery, sensors, operators create a network and all the information is connected and exchanged. Then we have the principle of transparency of information so that we can implement new technology like virtual reality and augmented reality. I would add augmented reality also to the next point, to the assistance by technology. So it is meant that a lot of work and a lot of direct operation is substituted by machines, sensors, a smart network. And which also means this smartness of our networks and the smartness of our sensors, that when there is an operator, like we have it in an airplane, for example, I'm pretty sure that we won't fly without a pilot within the next decades. But we have also clever systems that show just the information the pilot needs in that very moment. So the pilot doesn't have 150 numbers to cope with, but the system knows what is crucial at this point and gives this information. And this is a principle that is also applicable to industrial processes. And the fourth point is also very, very interesting for any natural material. This is a decentralization with this ability to handle complex processes. We can also do a lot of production decentralized, which is important for any natural material, because we do not have our natural materials in big cities like Jakarta. We have it in rural areas, and we have to process it somehow to get it transportable. Yeah, and the output of Industry 4.0 should be that we have smart networks that are pushing forward our technology. So, what is now the objectives of biotechnology? So biotechnology can be very easy in just an Erlenmeyer flask and let grow some organisms and just observe what happens, or it can be high-tech processes with a high-level, high-quality output. And then it's getting more sophisticated. So in biotechnology, in bioeconomy, we take into account a lot of influence factors on the production. It's not only the production, it's also the use, the ability of recycle what we have produced, and the logistics. So when we have for example, a coal mine, and the coal has very high energy very high energy content, it's something different than when we're working with straw, where we have huge volumes and only a small energy content. So we have to find smart solutions for that.
Excuse me, 5 minutes left. The time.
The time?
5 minutes left.
Oh, I have. Oh, only 10 minutes left. Oh, hurry up! Okay, sorry. I told you I'm talking too much. Okay, then this is now a slide. I'm talking a little bit faster now. I'm sorry. This is now a slide for the principal bioeconomy process. What we see here is a division into two different kinds of organisms. Left-hand side, we have phototrophic organisms. So phototrophic organisms are those who do photosynthesis. So these organisms convert, with the help of sunlight, they convert CO2 into biomass. Like your plants, like trees in forests do the same. We do also have biotechnology in this case, not only to support this, but all microalgae, all phototrophic bacteria count to this group. And on the right-hand side, we have the heterotrophs. So the heterotrophs are some bacteria, yeasts, cells, whatever, who convert biomass into another biomass. So cheap biomass into a high sophisticated product. When we combine this, we see that we start with carbon dioxide. We either go to agriculture, forestry, or phototrophs biotechnology and produce some products or intermediates that go into another step. We could also use refinery products from agriculture, like we see below, and use only this waste in our bioprocesses. What is now the approach to make it a bit smarter is to consider also the usage of our products, which we see in the next slide. So in the next slide, we have also integrated the products, and we have some loops back from the consummation of our products back into production. You see with this scheme that if we want to go for biorefinery concepts, it's getting quite complex, and this complexity leads us again to where we started when we were talking about what does Industry 4.0 mean. It means help with all the complexity that we have. And the biotechnological process is, from a process engineering point of view, a process of the highest complexity. We have normally 3 phases. We have a lot of batch processes, and we have also, we might have evolution in our bioreactors, so we have a lot of influence factors, and we have to cope with them and to keep product quality high. And there, all the tools from Industry 4.7 come into this game. Yeah, I will skip that. That's just some information how bioeconomy works in Europe and Germany. We do have a bioeconomy strategy. Germany is one of the leading countries. We implemented already in 2010 for research, and 2014 politically. So bioeconomy, and with a important tool, biotechnology, is a innovation strategy in Germany. Yeah, here are some numbers. We can have a quick look at the numbers. What we see here, I'm afraid you can't really read it. This is the biomass flow in Europe, and the green one is crop, and the brown one is wood. And what you can see is that crop is predominant, and what is done with wood is mostly energy or construction material. Not so much of wood goes into biotechnology at the moment. This is also quite interesting. This is turnover and employment in bioeconomy. And what we see in yellow is food and beverages, and this is the main part of bioeconomy that we have in Europe. And interestingly, you see the turnover on the left-hand side, and the turnover, half of the turnover goes to food and beverages, but only a fourth of employment, which shows the high level of automatization in this sector. And agriculture is quite a small portion from turnover side, so we have quite low prices in agriculture, but it's still quite labor intensive, as we see on the right-hand side, because half of the manpower, person power that is put into is done in agriculture. Yeah, here is a slide about the development of bioeconomy in Europe, and you see from 2010 we had this strategy already, and we do not see a lot of movement so far. So on the left-hand side we see again the turnover divided by sectors, and we have it like we had it before. This is just the development. And what you see from 2009, we have a slight increase in turnover in bioeconomy, but This is, is slow, but there is at least the increase. But the drawback we see on the right-hand side, on one hand is a drawback because we have only less people working in bioeconomy. But what it also means, less person power means a higher, it's a high turnover. Low person power means a lot of, it's going to be a good business in future, obviously. Yeah, so I come to the end of my presentation with challenges again to think about. We do have, when we go for biotechnology, we do have to show economic viability. Otherwise, we have no chance. Nobody would buy something biotechnologically produced when you can have a cheaper alternative produced in any other way. We do not have, so in Europe, I can only talk for Europe in this case, what we also need is between a traditional industry and biotechnology, there are decades of development. So traditional industry had the chance to grow, to optimize for decades. Biotechnology has not had the chance. And if a company decides to go for a biotechnological process, they need investment, and this investment has to be funded, at least in some parts, or the products have to be funded, and we do not really have security for that. So there are initiatives, but after a few years they are taken back, so investors do not have security for that. The third point is very crucial in Europe, that is land use. We are quite a few people, not as many as you are, but on a very, very small area in Europe, densely inhabited, and so there is already a lot of discussion what shall be done with arable land. So shall it be woods? What shall be done with the woods? We have conventional industry needing this wood, and we have innovative companies also wanting to use this wood. Yeah, and then the last are the social issues that will be, so bioeconomy, a lot of biotechnology will lead to a change into society. We will need new professions. We will need new experts, and we need now to educate these experts to have them in 5 years or so, ready to run the business. And for sure we have side effects. If you see if agricultural production has a drawback, what does this mean for all the farmers, for example? So that's now the very last slide with the summarizing. So what we need in the bioeconomy are products and processes that are ready for the market, that are ready also in means in a viability. We can substitute processes so that we have the same product, the same characteristics, and we just produce it from bioresources on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, we go even a step further. We want to create bio-better, so that the products we do with biotechnology have also advantages compared to chemical-produced products.
Excuse me, Professor, the time is up.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to answer your questions in the discussion later. Thank you.
Please give big applause to her. And then please stay here. It's a very interesting topic. We already presented by Professor Heike. She talked about the biotechnology and the movement of society and then the economics challenges for using biotechnology, because maybe in the modern society or in the developed country, it's easy to use the advanced technology, but maybe the condition is different with the developing countries. Okay, maybe we will continue discuss later. And then now for the second guest speaker, I would like to invite Dr. Sung Kyun Jung. It is right? He worked in Kyumpuk National University, Korea. Special in food science and biotechnology. He is going to present application of convergent sciences with big data on developing nutraceuticals. Before he present his presentation, I would like to introduce him. So he is still young, energetic, 44 years old, very young, and then now he is assistant professor at School of Food Science and Biotechnology, Kyungpok National University, Korea. He has a lot of experience in biotechnology subject, and also he published a lot of papers or articles related to biotechnology, especially food biotechnology. So please come to the stage, Dr. Sung Kyun Jung. So maybe I'll call you Dr. Jung. Please give a big applause to him. You have 30 minutes to present, and then after 25 minutes we will reminding you. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you to Mohamed Londai for kind introduction for me. Prior to my presentation, I would like to thank to Jember University for giving me great opportunity to present my research interest. Today, I'm gonna talk about the application of convergence of sciences with big data for developing nutraceuticals. I'm gonna focus on these monitors. Okay, if you follow the lecture, you should focus on these monitors. Actually, I'm not an expert in post-industrial revolution, so I'm gonna skip this slide. The Professor Klaus Schwab predicted several technology, including AI, IoT, 5G, 3D. This kind of technology will change our life. Among these technology, I focus on the big data. There is no definition on the size of the big data, but generally big data is a field that the analyzer will systematically extract information from the data sheet. This data is too big to extract the current the processing application softwares. We can summarize the characteristic of the big data: volume, and velocity, and variety. Thank you. Volume refers to the size of the big data, and the velocity is speed of the data. And this one variety make the data real big data, because this variety mean the every data generated by the different locations, such as the CCTV files. Now we are already living in a big data era. So, for example, the 5,200 gigabytes of the data on every person. So people send a tweet about 500 millions. The US customer used 1.8 gigabytes of data per month. And Walmart processed 1 million customer transactions per hour. Interestingly, the Amazon sells 600 items per second. We already make some the banking, the transaction. For example, the MasterCard processed 74 billion transactions per year. If I summarize the advantage of big data, the primary advantage of big data is the prediction. Based on the various information from the big data, we can predict. Therefore, the big data allow the business and the organization to make a better decision. It can save the time and money and reducing the risk. Big data also provide insight into the customer pain point and allow the company to improve upon their product and service. Big data also give the accuracy. And the advantage is strategic direction and customer trend. From this slide, I'm going to introduce the example of application of big data on developing the natural anti-cancer agent and the nutraceuticals. There are so many trials to overcome the cancer. The cancer is still a leading cause of global human death. As you can see here, the type of cancer, the lung cancer has the highest mortality. The epidermal growth factor, the one of the receptor in our cell, has a critical role in growth and survival of cancer. EGFR kinase inhibitors such as gefitinib, erlotinib are approved by FDA as an anti-cancer drug. These kind of the drug are effective clinical therapy for non-small cell lung carcinoma. However, this kind of drug has a limitation because of drug resistance. There are so many cases of the drug resistance. The threonine 790 mutation to methionine is detected in over the 50% of lung cancer patients. I was interested in this kind of lung cancer because the Asian woman from Korea, Japan, China who never smoked suffered from lung cancer. Therefore, my hypothesis is very simple. If I develop the one material can block the mutated EGFR, it can be the promising strategy to overcome the lung cancer. Okay. By using big data, especially natural chemical library and the computational in silico modeling provided by IBM, we screened the natural compound that specifically bound to the mutated EGFR. Based on the screening result, we selected several compound. Then we do the actual in vitro and in vivo experiment. So this is the compound what I selected. The ILQ, the potential, the mutated EGFR inhibitors. So as you can see here, this compound directly suppressed mutated EGFR activity. To prove each activity, This compound really suppressed the mutated EGFR activity. We added this gene, the mutated EGFR gene, to the cells, and this compound really affected the cancer growth. You can see here, this compound really significantly suppressed the cancer cell growth here. And all these results indicate that this compound really affected the EGFR mutated lung cancer cells. I'm going to skip the other result because of time limitation. Nextly, this compound really affected the in vivo system by using the Alzheimer's mice. Alzheimer's mouse means the mice doesn't have the immune system. Therefore, we inject the human originated cell to the mice. The mice grow the gene grouped cell. You can see here. Yeah, next, please. Okay. As you can see here, just this treatment to this compound suppressed of the growth of the tumor, and the FDA approved drug does not affect. Okay. Next slide, please. Oh, my slide has some problems here. So I'm going to introduce the development of nutraceuticals. We can divide the development of nutraceutical with 4 steps. First one is acquiring the materials, and second one is proving the physiological activity and identify the active or the major compound. And last one is clinical trial. Among these steps, for me, just acquiring the novel material is always challenging. To acquire the novel compound, I use the big data analysis. So I select, next slide please. I select so there are so many the target for the nutraceutical. In this the experiment, I want to find the preventive material for cardiovascular disease. As you can see here, this figure shows the atherosclerosis stage. Among the various steps, I focus on this step. Monocyte bind to the endothelial cells. So I screened so many materials and bind the one extract. Next slide, please. The name of the extract is next, please. I found the one extract that has a potential to preventive cardiovascular disease via suppressing monocyte bind to the vascular endothelial cells. So, okay, here, based on the big data analysis, in vitro screening, we selected this one, the Lespedeza cuneatis, as a potent nutraceutical that prevent early event in atherosclerosis. Next slide, please. We also compound this extract, strongly suppress the inflammatory signaling pathway here. And as you can see here, this extract, natural extract suppressed the NF-kappa B translocation from cytosol to nuclear. Next slide, please. And in vivo experiment, we also proved that this extract, the oral administration of this extract to the mice really suppressed TNF-alpha mediated macrophage infiltration from cytosol, from the blood vessel to the intimal here. Okay, next slide, please. The other one is I'm going to show the nutraceutical for prevention of the wrinkle formation. We can divide the skin aging. One is intrinsic aging, the other one is extrinsic aging. The extrinsic aging is considered as the photoaging because this aging is induced by UVB irradiation. So the characteristic of the extra skin aging, photoaging, is appeared the deep wrinkle and uneven brown spot. So when you look at this signaling pathway, this slide shows what happened in our skin. The UV irradiation to the skin of the human activate the AP1 transcription factor, and this abnormal activation of these transcription factors transcribe the MMP1. This enzyme involved in degradation of the collagen in the skin. So finally, the wrinkle formation is happen. Okay, next slide, please. Therefore, we made the cell line, this cell line, we added this MMP1 promoter expression gene to the cell line and made the cell line by ourselves. By using this cell line, we screened 100 of the extract in 3 days, and we selected the several extract as a potent anti-photoaging materials. And next slide, please. And then we further studied each molecule investigating the molecular targets. This extract suppressed the EGFR-mediated signaling pathway, and in vivo study using a SKH1 hairless mice, this kind of mice does not have a melanocyte. Therefore, the chronic irradiation of UVB finally make the wrinkle on their back skin. You can see here the chronic UV irradiation make the wrinkle formation in my skin, and the oral administration of this extract suppress the wrinkle formation here. This is the quantification of this wrinkle formation. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you very much. The last one is I'm going to show the developing marker for nutraceutical. Usually the food science adopt the marker for screening the nutraceutical from the medical science. There is no biological marker for food science. So I'm going to try to develop the markers for the nutraceuticals. The development of food processing has greatly contribute to the solving the malnutrition problems. Okay. However, the high temperature during the food processing create the materials, byproduct, unwanted byproduct. That is the advanced glycation end product. There are so many papers indicate that this age can be factored in development or worsening of many chronic diseases such as atherosclerosis, diabetes, and Alzheimer's disease. Next slide, please. And many clinical study also reported that AGE closely relate to the diabetic nephropathy. Therefore, development of early marker which can be target of a nutraceutical need to be investigated. So we aim to develop an early marker for diabetic nephropathy by using systems biology and big data. Next slide, please. Firstly, we studied the animal study. When age was oral administered by mouse, it was confirmed that mouse proteinuria, which is a marker for diabetic retinopathy, occurred at the third weeks. As you can see here, this just streptozotocin. This the streptozotocin make the mice to the diabetes, and compared to the streptozotocin, the consumption of AG has a big difference in proteinuria. And then we extracted the kidney from the mice and analyzed the different protein, like this process. So we identified the proteins between the groups. Next slide, please. By using this IPA2, this is the analytical tools. By using big data, we analyze which protein really affect the development of diabetic nephropathy in early stages. So based on the protein we identified and the big data analysis, we predict like this one, a major protein in development of diabetic nephropathy. Next slide, please. And also, we performed the RNA sequence. This result also gives us the clue that CPT2 gene and the fatty acid beta oxidation in mitochondria may be an early marker of diabetic nephropathy. Next slide, please. And molecular method, the RNAi and other the tools give us the result that CPT2 really contribute to the diabetic nephropathy via dysfunction of mitochondria, like this and like this. Okay. Next slide. Yeah. Next slide at the end of my presentation. Thanks for your attention. So sorry for disturbing you because of my slide. Okay.
Thank you very much. Please have a seat beside of Professor Heike. And then it was a very nice presentation that talking about the big data, especially for dietary food, and will affect to our body healthy. So it is very interesting. So we may continue by discussion later. Now we are going to have the third presentation. Her name is Dr. Juaidah Sarifuddin. She belongs to Department of Agribusiness and Bioresources Economics, Faculty of Agriculture, University Putra, Malaysia. She also still young, yeah? 44 years old. She is a senior lecturer. She got bachelor degree from business administration from Drexel University, United States of America, and then he got master from UPM, and then also she got PhD in marketing and from Cardiff University, United of Kingdom. Now she is working as agribusiness marketing subject in the same university. She has a lot of experiences, especially in entrepreneurship and also in agricultural marketing and then supply chain management. She published more than 25 papers in international journal, and then also she becomes a trainer in the entrepreneurship program. Please come to the stage, Dr. Juwaida Sarifuddin. She is going to talking about the intention to adopt Industry 4.0 technologies among small and medium enterprises in Malaysian dairy manufacturing industry. So the time is 30 minutes. So after 25 minutes, we will reminding you. Please one more give a big applause to her.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Juwaida dari University Putra Malaysia and I'll be talking about intention to adopt Industry 4.0 technologies among the small and medium industries in Malaysian dairy manufacturing industry. So I will present in English and might be in some bahasa Melayu. Okay, so we'll talk about SMEs. SMEs is IK, what is it in Indonesia? UKM. Okay, so UKM in emerging economies, it provides 60% for the employment of the nation. So this is emerging economies. Mostly we have these similarities. And 40% for the GDP. And for business establishments in all the emerging economies, 95% of it will be from SMEs. Okay, so there are many guidelines for SMEs from many countries, but this is what we have in Malaysia. We have differences in manufacturing sector and also services and other sectors. So what differentiates between micro, small and medium is based on the sales turnover, number of employees, and also manufacturing sector is different from the services and other sectors. So these are the definitions given by the Malaysian government and we changed it in 2014. So this is the SME GDP and overall GDP growth of Malaysia. Okay, so when we redefine SME, in 2004 we see that the number of SME is, the contribution of GDP is increasing. That is where we redefine the definition of SME. But looking at this, that means the SME is about the same as what is happening in the national GDP. Okay, so looking at these slides, SME's development in Malaysia, we see that the micro companies is for balancing the growth of the nation, while medium and small, it is the enabler of growth, and medium companies is the driver of growth. So actually, for SMEs, they contribute a lot for the nation's development. So it's not saying that SMEs and micro enterprises are not important in an economy. So what we have in Malaysia, in 1996 we have SMEDAC. This is the program and agency that takes care of SME. So we started formally taking care of SMEs in 1996, and then in 2004 we have NSDC. In 2009 we introduced SME Corp Malaysia. So all the SMEs must be registered under SME Corp Malaysia, and in 2012 we have SME Master Plan. So this is the master plan from 2012 until 2020, which is next year. So hopefully whatever that is being planned for SMEs in Malaysia has been and will be achieved by next year. This is the contribution of SMEs in Malaysia. Okay, if you can see, the number of business establishment is nearly 1 million businesses. So 3.0% of medium companies, 20% of small companies, and 77% of micro enterprises. And I think I can see in Indonesia, the percentage of micro enterprises is also very, very large. Okay, and we spend a lot of money as consumers to these micro enterprises. And mostly, 89.2% of SMEs in Malaysia, mostly in services. So, for example, tukang gunting rambut, untuk services, untuk mencuci rumah, untuk mencuci offices. Okay, so these are types of services. And then we have in manufacturing 5.3%, in construction 4.3%, because construction, agriculture, mining and quarrying is mostly for large companies. They don't have that many SMEs. The contribution of SMEs to Malaysian economy is around the same as the first slides that I presented. So 37.1% for the GDP, 66% for employment. That's why it's very important to keep your SMEs alive in an economy, because it provides for the employment. And also 17.3% for exports. It's not a lot, but we are trying to increase that, the amount of exports from SMEs. So this is, if we look at the previous slides, we have seen that manufacturing is 5.3%. So in manufacturing sector, the distribution of micro, small and medium companies is like what is presented in the slides. So the total number of SMEs in manufacturing sectors are 47,201. And then the gross output is 342.5 billion. And also the number of employment, we have about 800, nearly 900,000 people working in the SMEs in manufacturing sector. So actually the number of large firm is not that big, but it contributes a lot for the gross output for the nation. Okay. So what we do is we look at the total SMEs, because Malaysia is focusing on that now. So this is manufacturing subsector, and we are looking at the vegetable and animal oils and fats and processed foods, because this is for agribusiness. I'm from Department of Agribusiness, so I don't look into other sectors. Okay, we have textile, non-metallic mineral products, wood products and all that. But we focus for vegetables, animal oils and fats, and processed foods. So the number of establishments that we have is 16.4%, gross output is 17.5%, and employment is 12.1% in the of the manufacturing sector. Okay, so this is concentrating on food manufacturing industry. So for food manufacturing industry, we'll see that SMEs contribute a lot for the gross output, about 60%. And then value added, 8.34 billion. Number of firms, 7,000 plus. And employment, about 100,000 workers. Okay. So that is about the general overview of Malaysian manufacturing industry, including the food manufacturing industry. So what we have in industrial revolutions, we have the first industrial revolution. This is in 1700. Okay, the year is 1784. This is to kickstart and replace manual labor with machineries. So they started during this time. And then the second industrialization is on technology. So they started to use electricity, try to replace that. This happens in the 1800s. And then the third one is automation and robots. This one is very slow being adapted by the SMEs because usually the technologies are very, very expensive for automation and robots. Okay, I have seen in Tokyo, there's a hotel that use robots to greet people. For registration, they use robots. To send the bags to the rooms, they use robots. But that one is very, very expensive. Okay? So we don't have that in Malaysia. This one in 1960s. And then we have fourth industry revolution, which is currently, but that is not on automation and robots, but it's more on physical, digital, and biological realms, which is the emerging technologies that we are currently having. So because of this, okay, we will look at the role of Industry 4.0. Why we are looking at that? Because we see that Industry 4.0 is something that can reduce labor. These are one of the main problems that we have in Malaysia. We don't have enough labor. And then reduce materials and energy cost. And also, we try to have flexibilities if there's any changes in the consumption trends. So we try to make sure that SMEs can also follow the changes in the trends, okay? And also for the on-time shipments, reduce inventory, we want to see that they don't have to use so much space for their inventory. And also they can monitor current conditions, whatever problems that may emerge in the future, and also provide alerts so that you can start to worry about something before it happens. So that's the reason why people are focusing on Industry 4.0. Okay? So the challenges of adopting Industry 4.0 technologies, we can see that you have cloud computing, you have big data, you have Internet of Things, IoT, and then cyber physical systems. So mostly it's on information sharing. The previous presenter discussed about big data. Information sharing is not something that everybody is open up to. Because ada yang takut rahsia terbongkar. Semua mau rahsia sendiri. Whatever that you are doing, you want it to keep to yourself. So might be it's not the cup of tea for everybody for information sharing. But then that is what is happening in Industry 4.0. This concept appears more flexible and less expensive as compared to the third revolution. So that's why we in Malaysia, we think that this is possible to be applied to the SMEs. So what we have is that SME is very important to the nation, but they have problems. For example, they don't have that many access to finance. They have problems for their capital. They have problems for their labor. Okay, and then human capital development to increase the skills of the workers. Also, there's some lack of knowledge there, and also for R&D and innovations. SME does not invest that much for R&D and coming up with new innovations. So we think that Industry 4.0 technologies can solve problems for SMEs. But then, are they ready to accept or to adopt IR 4.0? That's the main questions. Okay? Why we are focusing our attention to Malaysian dairy manufacturing is because this dairy manufacturing is a small but very important industry in Malaysia. Previously, in the 60s, in the 70s, we don't drink milk too much. And then, in this millennial age, the youngsters, they take milk for breakfast. And also, they eat cheese, which is not the main production for Malaysia or traditional production of Malaysia. We don't eat cheese for our forefathers. Okay, they don't eat cheese, and then people starting to take whey protein drink when they go to the gym. Kan, semua mau katang-katang, so they take whey protein drinks, and then all this is based on dairy, and then it's increasing. The consumption is high, but the production is very low. So these are one of the industry that is being given focus by the Malaysian government. Okay, so this is the framework that I've done with my master student. Okay, we use TAM and also TBP framework, and we come up with this framework to see what's the factors that can affect the intention of SMEs to adopt 4.0 technologies. So the data collection is done in the whole Malaysia. See, you can see that the number of SMEs for Malaysian dairy manufacturing is quite low, 156 companies. So the response rate, the one that we can use is 114. And we have questionnaire asked to them during this big program, and also we emailed the rest of the companies that are not available during MAHA 2018. So what are the respondents' profile that we have? You can see that for dairy manufacturing companies, most of them, the owners, have tertiary education. That means they are well educated. Okay, age category is between 25 and 35, so quite young. And then gender, male, dominated by male, and they are mostly married. What about the firm profile? We asked about the type of government support received by the companies, and what they answer, 46% have training, but only not many companies that get grants. Okay, grants 31%, loans 12%, and then, grant is 3%. This 31% did not get any support from the government. Okay, and the number of employees, we have mostly 1 to 30 people in their company. Okay, 1 to 30 workers, and their source of dairy product from the farm, from the collection center, imported, and this is mixed, either from farm imported or collection center imported and things like that. The main raw milk that they get is mainly imported. Okay, we don't produce. Our dairy industry is also quite small, and we are also trying to increase that. Level of technology use. This is based on their perceptions of their company. So high is 30%, low is 33%, but mostly they answered that they are using some kind of technologies in their company. So that is medium. So medium is majority of the company. That is actually very reasonable, because in dairy manufacturing, they have to have it in very clean environment, sterile environment. So might be that's the reason why they are using medium level of technology. So we asked about level of intention to adopt 4.0 technologies. You can see high level is only 55% and low level is 45%. That means there are many SMEs, owners who are not thinking about adopting Industry Revolution 4.0 technologies. Might be they don't understand, might be they think that it's not easy for them to adopt. We don't know, okay? So what we found from the overall study, 55% of respondents have high level of intention to adopt Industry 4.0. 54% just now have used medium level of technology, and we see that 1 to 30% of employees is the majority of the SMEs, and it has significant association with intention to adopt IR 4.0 technologies. So if you can see the 4 factors that have significant relationship is perceived behavior control, perceived ease of use, perceived usefulness, and attitude. That means from what we gather the information after the analysis, we see that subjective norm is not a factor, which means that it doesn't, they don't care whether whatever that other people think about their company is important, whether they want to adopt or not the 4.0 technologies. This is different than other companies actually. So what we think is that they have more, they focus more on how much it will cost and how much it will take their time in adopting the technologies rather than the subjective norm. Okay, so my recommendation, okay, is that they need to, government need to focus on giving more knowledge, okay, on Industry 4.0 and what is it that they can use instead of using the old ways, okay? Because it can, it also can affect their perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use. That means if the SMEs think that this kind of technology can help them, and also it's not that difficult for them to move from the current state to adopting technologies 4.0, then it's better for the companies. Okay, so that's why training and promotions are really needed for to increase the intention for them to adopt Industry 4.0 technologies. And focus can be given to the small companies that have 1 to 30 number of workers, okay, instead of the medium ones. You can start with the small companies. So if you start with the small companies, the government doesn't have to spend too much money for that. So it can be in stages. What we have in Malaysia right now, Malaysia is having the national policy on Industry 4.0 is Industry Forward. Okay, this one is by MITI, the Ministry of Trade. So Ministry of Trade, they have this program and they have allocation of money to transform SME and having them adopt the technology 4.0. So they have conducted the studies whether the SMEs are ready or not to adopt Industry 4.0 technologies. So not only questions like what I did, they also assess, go to the SMEs and look at what the SMEs have to make sure that whether they are capable of adopting the new technologies. Okay, so they assess, and in the beginning, they will help 500 SMEs first. So SMEs ni, they have to what is it? They have to give their names. Okay? It's not like the government have to find them. No. This is voluntary. Whoever wants to participate. And then additional government incentive that we have under this year budget, the government has set aside 5 billion over